Hey there, hope you're doing good. Founders sometimes approach me saying that their startup is making commitments to customers and failing to meet them because the engineering team is not delivering. Let's say you're a founder and you want to improve this situation. How would you do it? The answer is surprisingly simple. Sell what you have, don't commit new features or timelines. Just say we have these features. If the customer says we want these other features, don't say, okay, we'll get them to you by next month or next quarter. Just ask people to make a decision based on the features that exist today. I'm not talking about pre selling before you build it to ensure that there is demand for it. That's a different case. That's more like validation. I'm talking about features that are already validated or features that don't even require validation, routine stuff. So, why am I suggesting not to commit? The main reason is it takes a lot of organization and planning to honor these commitments, which most startups are not set to do. What does that result in? Missed commitments, which cause a disproportionate loss of trust. If you fail to meet your commitment and I'm your customer, I won't trust you again. And people give these more weightage than the person making the commitment might. So if you make 10 commitments and you meet 7 or 8 of them, you may think you're doing pretty good, but the other person may perceive you as unreliable. So the amount of importance given is different. Let's see why it's hard to keep commitments. Let's say you commit a new feature to a customer. Often they're not thought through. Someone says, I want ABC, and you say yes. Sometimes, after the commitment is made, the team discusses and concludes that the feature is a bad idea or that it will make an already existing problem in the system worse. Or something else needs to be done before this can be done. The other situation is just one of timing. Salespeople sometimes ask engineers, when will this be done? And if the engineer says this will take a month, they'll commit a month to the customer. I'm not talking about playing tricks like committing 2 weeks to the customer when they've been told it will take a month, which some people do, unfortunately, kind of resulting in a problem for the company. But leaving that aside, or even if a buffer is added, I know one salesperson who told me when the engineer tells me it will take a month, I add a buffer and tell the customer it will take 2 months. But still, it's not delivered after 2 months. Now, one thing that was happening in that particular company is that the salesperson would go and ask the engineer. The engineer would give an estimate for how long this will take if nothing else is being worked on. He's estimating this project by itself. He's not saying that personally he will do it by this date. Those are two different things. In fact, he may not even have time to begin this feature before the end of the estimated period because there are more things coming. I've also seen salespeople ask engineers for multiple estimates. How long will this take? A month. How long will this take? 2 weeks. How long will that take? 2 months. But that doesn't mean the engineering team can work on all three concurrently, or the engineer, because he has limited time in the day. So it may be the case that he can meet any of these three commitments, but not all three. To fix all these requires a lot of coordination. You need to do it in a very methodical manner. For example, you need to plan out all the phases, front end, back end, QA, etc. You need to add buffers. If I am the, let's say, front end engineer working on a feature and I need to deliver it by, let's say, Friday, I need a commitment from the back end engineer to do it much before Friday, say the previous Friday, to throw out a random date. So I need to get a commitment from him in order to meet my commitment. But what if something else comes up on his side? Maybe there's an outage. Maybe there is some work that needs to be done, which is no less important than this work. What if he implements the backend and then I implement the front end and then it turns out that this is not what was required? Where is that accounted for? Or suppose after implementing it, I show it to the PM and the PM says, yeah, this is good, but this is only 70% of what was required. Then I need to get back to the backend engineer. He may say, I can't, work with you for 2 weeks. And I say, but we have a commitment here. And he may say, I made a commitment to another front-end engineer for another feature. Now, how can I break one commitment for another commitment? So you can see that a huge amount of coordination is needed to ensure timely deliveries. All this takes up time on everyone's side. The more time people spend discussing, extracting agreements, and so on, they are not spending time actually coding. And the smart engineers will eventually leave if your company becomes too process driven without enough room for creativity. Getting into these discussions and debates is not why someone chose to be a software engineer. They entered this field because they wanted to build cool stuff. So predictability and productivity are at odds. Predictability requires a lot of coordination and planning, which will take up limited time. The other thing that can happen is, I have seen a PM agree to deliver something, say 2 months later, for a client, and then not deliver. When I asked him why, he said, something more important came up. Something that could not be foreseen. And someone challenged the PM saying, but you committed. He said, so what? Every day when I come into work, I do what is most important that day. Like, I can't disagree with the PM for saying that. Like, just because he made a quote unquote commitment, is he required to work on lower priority stuff? No, of course not. Our time is limited and we should work every day on the highest priority stuff. So you can see these are all the reasons why you shouldn't pre-commit to customers as to specific features or specific timelines. Just sell what you have. That will solve this problem very well. Problems sometimes have simple solutions that we overlook and instead overcomplicate things to the point where they don't work.